All right, hi everyone, my name is Matthew Cress of Cress Dietetics, and this is going to be a video presentation on L-Reuteri yogurt, Inulin, the SuperGut yogurt protocol, cultured dairy, and my experience and opinion on these topics. So let's get started. L-Reuteri yogurt was popularized by the SuperGut book, and I have seen online that there are quite a lot of people that are having a hard time making this L-Reuteri yogurt, and I wanted to address the common questions, concerns, and what I recommend. So the L-Reuteri yogurt movement was popularized by Dr. William Davis, and he has a recipe online on how to make L-Reuteri yogurt with quite a wide variety of photos and a very clear step-by-step. However, with this step-by-step, it does not seem to work for quite a lot of people, and it has caused a lot of confusion for a wide community of people that are trying to get the benefits of L-Reuteri yogurt. So in this book and through the L-Reuteri studies that have been done, the claims are that it helps with mood, skin, libido, and mood, and there's a long list of things. I highly recommend L-Reuteri just in general. However, I'm not necessarily sure if making L-Reuteri yogurt is the best way to go about doing this for a final result of getting L-Reuteri in the gut for it to take hold and for you to get these benefits. His recipe goes over needing inulin, which is a prebiotic fiber, or raw potato starch. I do want to say that inulin is technically chains of fructose molecules. If you have one fructose molecule, another one, and you have 20 plus, eventually when you're over that 20 plus, we call that inulin. So inulin is just a chain of 20 plus fructose molecules stuck together. He says that the L-Reuteri does best feed off of these inulin or even potato starch molecules. That is kind of true. L-Reuteri is just a lactobacillus bacteria that is going to feed, it needs to feed off of a typical carbohydrate. And inulin is basically just chains of a very simple carb, fructose, just one right after another. L-Reuteri also feeds off of just any other like starch, so which is why he recommends the raw potato starch. It also feeds off of lactose, and it also feeds off of any other kind of random glucose derivative molecule that will just provide straight carbohydrates. Because L-Reuteri mainly feeds off of these simple carbohydrates, like many other bacteria, when you add fat, just something that's not a carbohydrate, to your medium that you're trying to have L-Reuteri ferment in, it is going to have a harder time because there's technically less glucose available for the L-Reuteri to ferment. So using half and half or any other fat that is to be added to the medium, I do not recommend, because you're basically hindering the L-Reuteri from being able to ferment properly. If you are interested in making L-Reuteri yogurt, what I would actually recommend, as opposed to doing the recipe that he provides online or even in his book, is to do something that is lower fat. And if I may, I would like to propose a different technique to actually bring a more consistent result of L-Reuteri into the gut/system. So when I get started talking about L-Reuteri yogurt and what the ultimate goal is, if the goal is to have just regular yogurt, or if it's to bring L-Reuteri into the gut, or if it's to have a easy ferment in the diet, there are different types of approaches that every individual is going to take. And this is the kind of conversation that I usually have with either clients or people online who are confused and need help taking direction about what to do next. If the ultimate goal is to make yogurt, then you need to know that there are two main bacterial species that are required to make yogurt. First, you need Streptococcus thermophilus, and then you also need Lactobacillus delbrueckii bulgaricus. These are the two main subspecies of bacteria that are required to make yogurt. If you do not have these two subspecies, you are technically not making yogurt. This is a legally binding nomenclature that is used for yogurt in yogurt production. If you are not using these two bacteria in your milk, you are making a wonderfully other type of fermented milk product, and which is fantastic and you are absolutely allowed to do, but technically it is not yogurt. Yogurt must have these two subspecies, bacterial subspecies, in order for it to have that nomenclature. So please keep that in mind. The L-Reuteri subspecies, you notice that I did not mention that bacterial subspecies in the two main bacterial cultures that are required for yogurt. What does that mean? That means that you are not going to easily find L-Reuteri in yogurts. And often the analogy that I make is you don't go rummaging through, you don't go looking for something where it's not easily or naturally found. That doesn't make sense. You don't go into your winter clothing pile and look for a bathing suit. You're not going to find it. It is very unwise to try to force something that doesn't happen naturally. So what I would recommend is then instead going to look at what actual fermented products naturally have L-Reuteri, and you would then be able to get the benefits from the L-Reuteri and not having to go through this very labor-intensive process of trying to make L-Reuteri yogurt that doesn't actually work half the time. And I would even go so far as to say is I've talked with a variety of people who have tried to make the SuperGut L-Reuteri yogurts, and they are not successful. And if they do get a yogurt that sets, usually the L-Reuteri isn't even present when they do like one of those microbial discs. The L-Reuteri isn't even there. So I don't know what you're fermenting, but it is not L-Reuteri yogurt, and there is something else that you need to be doing. So if you are wanting to do a milk ferment that contains L-Reuteri, the first thing that you may want to consider is it's this thing from Sweden that I found. It's called BRA FIL. There's a space in between BRA and FIL. It's BRA stands for Bifidobacterium reuteri and acidophilus, and it is a yogurt drink from Sweden that uses L-Reuteri strains such as DSM 17938 and RC14. Reading off my notes, don't mind me. I'm not sure how widely available this type of ferment is. I don't usually recommend this first one, but this is where L-Reuteri quote unquote got its start in milk ferments in a more commercial sense. So if you have access to that, that would be a great first step for you to try. If not, what I actually recommend is making milk kefir. So milk kefir in the nutrition field is very well known for being one of the ferments that has the richest microbial population that you can possibly get in your kitchen. When you are in your kitchen and you're trying to make a ferment and you are interested in having a diverse microbial population in the thing that you're consuming, the best choice is always going to be milk kefir. It provides the widest variety and the richest amount of microbes to the diet. Now, I am not going to go over all of the microbes that are found in milk kefir, but what I will do, how about I attach it here? And so pause if you need to, but in here you will see that I have highlighted L-Reuteri as one of the main lactobacillus microbes that is found naturally in milk kefir. Also, in kind of a separate note, I will say that why are we interested in having L-Reuteri in our gut? It is because we have read online or we have read a book and we have seen that there are a wide variety of benefits that come from the L-Reuteri strain. And what I have to say to this as a dietitian that is a really big fan of fermented foods, sauerkraut, yogurt are my two main first loves, but there is a wide variety of possibilities out there. And please know that as a professional that works in the nutrition field, we are in our infancy of understanding what the microbiome is, what it does, how bacteria, yeast, funguses, fungi, parasites, viruses influence our gut microbiome, and what we can do to manipulate it and how it affects our health. We are well aware that the more diverse a microbiome is, and the more intentionality we have in consuming fermented foods at our ability to consume them, meaning like if you don't feel well consuming a fermented food, then that fermented food is maybe not for you, or you're doing too much too fast. You have to slowly teach the gut what it is to have a fermented food or to have a raw product that does have naturally occurring bacteria, or fill in the blank for your other microbes. The idea behind having a microbe-rich diet is to positively influence our gut. Our gut is going to have billions of microbes in it, as is if we consume fermented foods or not. If you are not going to intentionally consume fermented foods, then your gut is going to be populated with other microbes that you are not having a say in. You are not necessarily being deliberate about the types of microbes that are present in your gut. And so if you are wanting to have a more intentional relationship about what your gut is doing and how you feel on a day-to-day basis, you should be intentional about introducing certain types of microbes into, or just not even certain types, but just having there be a presence of microbes that is going into the digestive system so it can positively influence your gut microbiome and your gut health. So I know that the majority of people that are going to be watching this have come for the L-Reuteri discussion, the yogurts, but it is my job as a dietitian to, or just as someone that's trying to be a voice of authority here, to help give you my perspective on things and to help guide you where I think that you should take into consideration the types of points of views that I have as I work with these types of products and these types of clients. The idea behind having L-Reuteri yogurt is to get the benefits from the what the research says L-Reuteri yogurt brings into the diet as it's in our gut microbiome and the effects that it brings us. How else can the human body benefit from microbes? So of course there is the fermented food discussion and the L-Reuteri yogurt that we talked about, but also replacing it with something more easy, such as milk kefir, or even the bra-fill Swedish drink that I mentioned earlier. Also, you may not know this, but naturally occurring sourdough bread will have the L-Reuteri species in it. And for those who are nervous about the gluten in bread, I would highly recommend trying actual sourdough bread. Try one bite and see how you feel. I always highly recommend sourdough bread over, not traditionally, but like commercially made breads, because there's no bacterial population in these other types of non-sourdough breads. And when you add in these types of microbes into any type of food preparation, you essentially are making the food more digestible. People stop eating bread because they don't digest it well. But when you add in like a sourdough levain is what it's called. When you add in microbes to the sourdough, you make it more digestible and you make it easier for the body to break it down and easily digest it. Next, you can also easily influence your gut microbiome by also having raw foods alongside your ferments. So ferments bring microbes, but also raw foods bring raw foods also bring in microbes to the gut. Raw foods such as like raw fruit, raw vegetables, but then also, now stay with me, raw meat. Raw meat such as beef tartare, such as sushi, such as carpaccio, such as sashimi. There are a wide variety of raw meat preparations. Now, maybe you have said, ew, I'm not used to that. Beef tartare sounds gross, but you didn't say ew to sushi. So maybe this is also a personal journey so that you consider what it is to eat raw meat and or even raw fish, or even maybe having a runny egg yolk, or maybe what it is to have, the difference between cooked and raw foods, or even partially cooked foods, having there be a certain type of a scale. If you are only ever having cooked foods, then you are destroying all the microbes that are present in that food, and you're not giving your body the opportunity to have a diverse microbiome with a wide variety of microbes that are present. So when you go out to do your grocery shopping, whether it be at the supermarket or at the farmer's market is much better, but that's me being a dietitian about the whole thing. You are essentially buying, when you buy produce, whether it be fruit or vegetables or even meat, you're going to have naturally occurring bacteria on it. You can influence your gut microbiome by having, these raw fruits and vegetables, or you can cut them up, process them, ferment them, and let that community further grow. Remember, the refrigerator has only been around for, it's a very modern invention, and this is what people did in the past. Well, they did canning as well, but they also did fermentation, and these types of products helped people live throughout the winter without having access to fresh produce in the winter because it doesn't grow then. They would go into their wine cellar, or they'd go into their basement and they would get their canned produce or their fermented produce that they set aside and they processed in the summer months so that they could survive throughout the winter. Now, one thing that I do want to mention that I do think merits conversation, that I think a lot of people do forget about, is that bacteria and microbes produce vitamins. What does that mean? That means that when you are looking at, let's say the B vitamins, for example, when you are looking at pork that has rich B1, this is where we're going to find the most of our thiamine, for example. The thiamine that is present in the pork is because there was a certain type of bacteria that was present in the pork that ate whatever that was metabolizing, that was fermenting, and as a byproduct, that bacteria produced thiamine. That is how vitamins are made. Vitamins are made from bacteria. Bacteria produce vitamins, not minerals. Minerals come from Mother Earth, but vitamins are made from the microbes. That is how we get to have the vitamin-rich profile in certain types of foods. So if someone, for example, is working on a specific vitamin deficiency, maybe you've gone online, you've done a questionnaire, and you've looked up what is, a niacin deficiency, or a thiamine deficiency, or a riboflavin deficiency, and you're like, oh my goodness, that resonates. I need to have more, this type of vitamin in my diet. And you say, okay, great, I'm going to eat these foods that have, naturally these vitamins in them. Well, you need to pay attention. That's a good idea, but it's not all the way thought through. You need to also have, with this in mind, of the bacteria also making vitamins, you need to keep in mind that you should be eating foods that are already rich in these vitamins, but then you should also be eating foods that have bacteria that make these vitamins as well. If you're to have pork, for example, because you're wanting to have more vitamin B1 in your diet, but then you remember, well, B1 is destroyed through heat, and you need to satisfy a B1 deficiency. You're essentially going to be destroying the B1 in the pork, and you are going to be having a lesser quantity in your B1 from your pork than you're probably aiming for. And so what should you do? You should also be consuming the bacteria that produce thiamine in a fermented form, or even in a microbial form, to eat that as well, so that intrinsically those microbes can help ferment and create the B1 in your body as well as you eating a food that's also rich in B1. That is how you solve a vitamin deficiency. And I will tell you, I have seen, now I'm just using the example of B1, I have seen people be on vitamin B1 or a B complex with like B1 rich foods, and they're not getting any success whatsoever. When you get a nutrition profile and you are trying to solve a deficiency and it's not working, you're missing something. You should feel noticeably better within 2 to 3 weeks, I would say, for you to say this works. If you are on month 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of doing a specific nutrition protocol and it's not working, you're doing something wrong. And there needs to be a backed up view of what you're doing, and you need to reassess, because nutrition is not necessarily a long game. Your body is very reactive to the things that you bring into it and to feeling better. Your body is waiting to feel better. If you bring in the right thing, it will feel better rather quickly. And that is often overlooked by some practitioners, but also by the general public. That's like, okay, I need to do this one thing for a long time in order to get this X result. And I think that there needs to be more of a type of conversation that is more open-minded as to the type of approach that you're taking with your diet protocol and what it is that your goal is and what it is that you're aiming for. So coming back to the L-Reuteri yogurt conversation, what is my overall recommendation? Find a ferment that naturally contains L-Reuteri, that is not yogurt. That'll be more so milk kefir, or even sourdough bread has L-Reuteri yogurt, which is why when people say, eating bread makes me happy, I would say that would be because of the L-Reuteri that is present along with the other microbes present in sourdough. That is the reason why people like bread so much. It makes them happy. It's because of the L-Reuteri that is already naturally present. Then next is also consuming other raw foods that do contain microbes that also help positively influence the gut microbiome. And next, just paying attention to what it is for your diet, because if you're watching this video, I'm assuming that you are trying to aim for a specific goal regarding your diet and why you're aiming for the L-Reuteri. You're looking for a solution to something. So if your solution is you can't find it through this L-Reuteri yogurt, try something different. If you need help, please reach out to me. I am openly taking clients right now. And if you have questions, please ask them in the comment section below. I would be more than happy to answer them. Or alternatively, you can also reach out to me via my website at cressdietetics.com. And I would like to say thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.